Welcome, birders. This is Ed Pullen, your host on the Banter podcast, where birders talk birding. I've been toying around with a different tagline. What do you think of the best damn birding podcast, period? Kind of a takeoff on the sports show that's closed a few years ago. Anyway, I've had terrific guests so far, and I feel like I'm well on my way. Last week, Bill Twite did such a great job of teaching us about pelagic birding off the coast of Washington. Made even better by getting to talk about the two short-tailed albatross we saw on the pelagic trip last week with Westport Seabirds. That was just a highlight of my spring. But this week, we're going to stay on land. We're going to talk about the upcoming WAS convention, Washington Ornithological Society, WAS. And our convention this year is in the second weekend in May at Moses Lake area. And I've got Shep Thorpe on today to talk about that and his birding experiences. Shep is a well-known local birder. He is a terrific field trip leader and just such a nice guy. Always fun to be around, good energy, and a wonderful person to know and call my friend. So I'm really excited for you to hear from Shep today and learn about the upcoming WAS convention. So Shep, welcome to the Bird Banter podcast.
Hey, how are you, Ed?
I'm doing great, thanks. Shep, I asked you to be on the podcast today primarily because we've got the WAS convention coming up at Moses Lake, and I know you've been involved with WAS over the years.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be going to this conference. I think it's in a great location, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm also looking forward to it because this is one of the ones that I haven't had to be involved in the organization, so I get to enjoy it a bit more as a member.
Get to go be a participant instead of a leader. That's cool.
That's right, absolutely. As you know, I helped to put together conferences with other board members back at Ocean Shores and Yakima and Walla Walla. So those were great experiences.
Good. So are you involved at all in this? I didn't even see your name as a trip leader. Gosh.
Yeah, the only thing I'm doing this year is I'm helping Dennis Paulson, our Stump the Experts quiz night on Friday night, which is always a super fun time. Dennis has these great pictures of birds from different angles, and it gives a chance for some of our super smart birders out there to help give their tips on identification, as well as give the membership who's involved in the game as well a chance to test their skills.
That is always fun. I one time was on one of the panels for that, and it's very humbling. Very humbling. You luck out. You don't have to be the person making the guesses. You don't have to show your ignorance this year.
That's right. Well, that's the trick. That's the fun part. So I would encourage anybody who's interested in getting a bit more involved and wanting to avoid some of the spotlight. That's a fun way to do it.
Sounds like a fun way.
MC the event.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Yeah. Anyway, tell us. You've birded Moses Lake area quite a bit. What are some of your favorite places over in that area, especially for the May, springtime of year?
Yeah, I really enjoy the Othello area and the Parapons area. That's a great place to find some specialties like the tricolored blackbird, which is one of my favorites. There's a big grain elevator now next to some railroad tracks that looks over the Parapons there. And sometimes you just have to kind of pull over the road there and spend a little bit of time. And those little tricoloreds pop out.
Yeah, they like that tall bulrush stuff there instead. I don't know if it's bulrush, but whatever the tall reeds are instead of the regular cattails. It seems like they congregate over in that area.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think it's more of a tubular leaf than a cattail leaf.
Yeah, it is different.
And they seem to like it a lot. And then the ponds themselves, it seems to me that there's always either some avocets or black-necked stilts in there during the springtime.
I think both.
So hopefully we get a chance to see those species as well.
They are fun. Those are some of the alkaline pond specialty things over there that's always really nice. Any other places that come right to mind? I know I always go...
Just east.
Okay, go ahead.
just east of Othello. There's a lot of agricultural areas, and it can take a little bit of time and be sort of a different kind of birding. But one of the things I really enjoy doing is, imagining and trying to find where some of the burrowing owls might be.
They are
nesting.
always there. I hate to call birds cute, but if a bird could be cute, they are cute. They're neat little animals.
And then oftentimes, they're in a fun little family group, and so it's not too often that you get to find owls in that situation unless you get lucky enough to know where a nest is. And, in years past, we've gotten lucky from time to time and have found a burrow where there might be, not only two, but coming back to it, several young. And that's a super special experience.
Very nice. Very nice, yeah. I know that you've got it's a migrant trap in the fall, but I haven't birded a whole lot there in the spring, so I'm kind of excited about going over too. Ken and I are leading a couple of trips, and we're gonna go over a day early and learn about it because it's always a fun thing to do.
Yeah, awesome. I'm thrilled to hear that you guys are doing that. You and Ken are like some of the most energetic leaders that I know of, and I always get excited when I see you guys talk about birds.
It is fun. It is fun. So you've been leading trips for WAS quite a bit, especially in the winter. You seems like you do. It's the WAS or is it Seattle Audubon? It's WAS that you lead the trip for, isn't it?
It's WAS.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And so years ago, when I was just kind of getting back into birding, I did it as a child and a teenager, and then kind of got back into it right after the big recession.
Mm.
I bumped into Ruth Sullivan.
Oh, okay.
At the Blacktail Gull site in Commencement Bay.
Mm-hmm.
And we formed a friendship at that time. She's no longer with us, sadly.
Yes, it is.
But we got along quite well, and I enjoyed her enthusiasm. And she had mentioned to me at that point that he had this winter trip to the Okanagan Highlands and Waterville Plateau.
Right.
And I had already been there on my own with some other birders, and so I knew it was a wonderful place to get started for the year with some wintertime birding.
It is cool. I mean, first of all, it's so different from the west side where we are, where it's just rainy and soggy. You get up to the bright sun and the crisp, icy things and the frozen fog on the trees, and plus all the cool birds. It's a great place to go.
Exactly. I think that for me too, being on living on the cloudier side of the state,
yeah.
It's a great way to up your vitamin D and get out in some sunshine and some crisp snow. And so, that's kind of a fun thing to do to break up the cloudiness of the winter here on the west side. But she was a fascinating person in that she had memories of birding with her son, Patrick Sullivan.
Right.
And many people in the area who've been birding for more than 10 years know of him and his great skills.
He was extraordinary,
knowledge of
for sure.
Yeah. I never met him.
Oh,
but it was very enjoyable. Yeah, it was to meet him, and I think that it just happened to be a kind of a timing thing, connecting with Ruth, where she was looking for co-leaders for that trip. She had done it once or twice with Tim O'Brien, once or twice with Stefan Schlick, and so she was, looking for someone to help her out with that, and I really enjoyed hearing about her stories with him, everything that they did. I also got the sense that there was a lot of input from Ken Knittel in Patrick Sullivan's training in that area that I kind of just sort of stumbled upon this, gold mine of information, and did that trip with her for I would say approximately 5 years.
Oh, I didn't realize you did that with her. Okay, Nice.
Until her health wasn't good enough that she could join me, and then she very graciously sort of turned it over to me, and I've kept it going. But I think some of the parts of that trip that I do are really little nuggets from birders of decades ago, including Ken Knittel, with regards to researching the area and thinking of places to stop by and see.
Yeah, it's always fun to compare notes. We're over there. You'll tell us about places, and we probably tell you about some too. And it's always fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah,
you took a group from Florida out there this winter, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
How did that come together?
It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. They were fabulous birders, and I January of 2018 from Dale Goebel, who is a trip organizer with Clearwater Audubon. And she reached out and said, "Hey, can we go to the Okanagan Highlands next weekend?"
Next weekend, okay.
Yeah, and I was like, no, it's not going to happen that quick. And so we made plans for the following year, and I got to the trip this winter, the third week of January, and it was a lot of fun bringing enthusiastic birders from another state into the area and sharing with them some of the things that make the Okanagan and the Waterville Plateau so special. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so it was a cool winter out there. It was just a different. We were out there earlier, and there was just very little snow. I think there was more snow by the time you took them, was it, or was it still pretty bare?
It was still bare, and so we didn't have, it's been that strange winter. We didn't have winter until the actual WAS trip.
Yeah.
And so I had the Floridians and my scout trip when it was still just a small layer of snow and still pretty warm. The temperatures were above freezing, sort of in the high 30s and low 40s. And then when I actually went with the WAS trip, we had all that snow. And my experience is that really helps with the upland game birds, and so we had much more rewarding observation of things like sharp-tailed grouse, chukar, and gray partridge, with the addition of the snow that we got.
Yeah, it seems to make them come to the farms and places like that where you can see them instead of just hunkering down in the bushes. I don't know. Maybe I agree. Maybe that's not why. It seems like that might be why.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it gets them out of the sage and down into the water birch or areas where there's cattle and some agriculture.
Yeah, it's really cool. What do you lead other trips for WAS, or is that your primary one that you've done? I see. It seems like I see your name all the time.
Yeah, no, that's my primary one. I have led for annual conferences, and this conference and the conference before, which I wasn't able to attend.
Okay.
I haven't led any of those trips, but I do enjoy leading very much. And speaking to that, I hope to do more in the future.
That's cool.
I still work full-time here in Tacoma at a veterinary practice.
Right.
And have some administrative responsibilities as well. And so in the last 2 years, that's out of the field more than I would like. But I'm hoping to change up my administrative responsibilities such that I can participate more with WAS and with other organizations.
Yeah, you have to stop letting work get in the way of fun. That's not good. That is not good.
Well, I have a very satisfying job, so at least I'm being pulled in good directions.
I'm teasing. Is that? Are you still doing the Nisqually walks? I know. Gosh, that's quite an undertaking. Wasn't it every week you were doing those, or every 2 weeks, or what was that?
Yeah, so I joined up with Phil Kelly back in 2008 doing the Nisqually Wednesday walk at the Billy Frank Jr. Nisqually National Wildlife Refuge. And he had been leading the walk for 5 years, and he got the idea from Michael Hobbs, who does the Marymore Walk.
Oh, okay.
Up in
Yes, I know he
Marymore.
does that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think Michael maybe have done that walk for upwards of 30 years, which
my
is
goodness.
just incredible
What a
to think
database.
of.
Gosh.
Yeah, and so Phil started that kind of as a South End type thing, and has been keeping checklists for that. I joined up in 2008 and have been doing it with him now for 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then more recently, in the last, I would say 3 or 4 years, we've been actually keeping a Wednesday walk Nisqually eBird account.
Yes.
So that every week we sort of do the same walk and can contribute to eBird with regards to the information of our sightings. It's interesting going to a place like a wildlife refuge and seeing the infrastructure of the biologists and the technicians that are trying to glean some information from these areas. And one of the super exciting things about Nisqually is that they took out that 5-mile dike back in
It's
2009.
really made radical change in the area.
Yeah. And so there was over 750 acres of tidal estuary that was restored, and the people that were involved in helping that to occur were people that had interests in restoring fish populations, as well as bird populations and waterfowl,
mm-hmm.
and also Native Americans as well. So there was a number of interested parties, and I would say that in evaluating that, we've seen that the USGS technicians that come in through those programs usually have a 3 to 5 year period of time to put the project and collect information.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm hoping that as a regular walk once a week that's been going on for 10, 15, 20 years, we may be able to provide a little bit of a broader timeline.
Sure, at least from bird
that,
species. But you keep track of mammals and other things too, I think.
Yeah. So we've been kind of noting, the mammals that we're seeing, and I actually don't know if there's a mammal observational app out there that anyone's doing, but we do kind of keep track of that as well. And I would say overall our impression there at Nisqually is that we've seen increased numbers of things like dunlin
mm-hmm.
and fish. There's actually increased numbers of fish using the refuge as a nursery during the time that smelt come out and transition from the rivers.
So they've been successful in that aspect.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's an early success, so that's good. It certainly made it harder to bird for the ordinary birder who doesn't have the full access you guys get on Wednesdays. It's just kind of a much more limited walk you can do than what it used to be. When you could walk the whole loop, you felt like you had more variety of habitats and birds. But from an overall wildlife perspective, it's probably a lot better. It's just a little harder to bird, I think.
Yeah, no, I think so. And I think that the grasslands and the freshwater marsh that used to be there. And so that 5-mile loop, first of all, it was a loop as opposed to a straight out and back. And that, that's not quite as much fun because you have to,
go out and back.
trace your steps back. Right, exactly. But I do think that we have a little bit better visualization of some of they come in a little bit closer. And then we have more exposure now, I think, to mudflats than previous. So we're not particularly good at it yet, but we're spending quite a bit of time looking down at shorebirds that are coming through in the spring and the fall. And so hopefully we might have some more, rare bird sightings.
I think that's really possible.
Yeah, we get better and better at, working on our, leaf sandpipers versus, things like the long-toed stint or little stint. Or,
yeah, from the
that kind of
distances
thing.
we're looking at, that's going to be tough. But yes, I think sometimes they're right under the boardwalk. You might have a chance.
Yep, absolutely.
Very cool. Very cool. So, Shep, you have a trip coming up to the Midwest, don't you?
Yeah, I do. So I'm headed to Marsh, or the Black Swamp
McGee Marsh,
Observatory. Yeah, to look for some warbling, or brush up on my warbler techniques. The biggest week of American birding
Right.
is the week before I go, which I think is hopefully going to work out well for us, because we'll have some intel
Exactly.
on what's being seen and where, but hopefully have a little less crowds.
Yeah.
That's
I
a
hope it
very
works for you.
popular festival. Yeah.
That is such a rush of birds through there that they time those weeks so perfectly that if you're a week or two late or early, it's like nothing. So hopefully the timing will still work for you. I'm sure you've done your research.
Yeah, so I've been out there this week in the past, and it has been a good week.
Good.
And there tends to be some waves that come through. The males come through a day or two before the females.
Oh, okay.
And they just sort of stage right there. And so that sometimes is a lot of fun.
Oh, I bet.
Kind of seeing those different waves of birds coming through.
Very nice. Very nice. So, Shep, do you have any thing you want to pitch while we're here? I mean, WAS is obviously important to you. Are you involved in any other organizations or things you want to put in a good word for?
Yeah, so I enjoy being a member of the Tahoma Audubon, and being available to be a part of that organization. That's super important to me. With regards to WAS, I think that if you are the kind of person who has an interest in birding in Washington and wants to learn more about some of the access plans and the different kinds of sightings we have, I think WAS is just a wonderful resource to other like-minded birders, and learning more about where you can find different birds in Washington. It's a fabulous state. We've got so many different ecosystems and potentials for different sightings. One of my goals is to see approximately 300 species per year, and so
it takes some doing, but it's very possible. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I spend some time looking at the Birder's Guide to Washington, which has been put out by WAS. There's a newer edition that was released.
It's a great book.
In 2017, and so WAS is valuable with regards to knowing what's available. It's very supportive of things like the Birder's Dashboard. And it's just a way for people who are really interested in birding the state as much as possible. And then it also works with the Washington Birds Record Committee.
Yes.
And so it's involved in sponsoring that. So if you're interested in reporting rare birds or learning more about that records committee and listing, it's a great organization for people who are interested in county lists and listing birds.
It is.
In the state as well.
Matt Bartell and Ken Knittel and others really put in a lot of work on that. It's a great resource. Yeah.
It really is, yeah. So, being involved, it's a great experience, and I think if people are looking to do a little bit more with regards to learning more about the state or sharing information or being connected to other people who are interested in birding the area as much as possible, it's a great organization. And I think that the conferences that they put on really are a wonderful resource for connecting people and getting to know some of the leaders in the area who enjoy
It is a
leading
good
trips.
good place to meet the faces that go behind the eBird lists, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of times I notice that people are like, "Oh, that now I know who I'm reading about."
Yeah, yeah. Between tweeters and the eBird list, there's all these people out there that I hardly know, and I get to meet a lot of them every year at the convention if I go. I have to say I've not been the best at going, but now that family commitments are less and other things, I think I'm going to be a regular. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Yeah. The other fun thing about the conference is they do a great job of getting to different parts of the state. And so one year they'll have it on the west side, another year they'll have it on the east side, and they'll make a point of looking at their history and trying to figure out new places to go to. And so I think they do a fun job of, looking out for newer places to check out.
They do. Some one year it'll be
getting
in the
speakers.
fall, and another year it'll be in the spring, and so they move the time around to meet where the best birding is and the cool areas to go. So you could probably learn the state in 10 years if you just went to the WASP conventions.
Yes, you probably would.
Yeah, come pretty close. Good. Well, Shep, thanks so much for taking time to come on with me. It's been really fun to talk to you. You're always such a gracious and fun person to be around, and always a wealth of knowledge.
Oh,
so
you bet.
I appreciate
Hey, thanks
it.
for inviting.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting me. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully I'll see you in the field sometime soon.
You will. Thanks, Shep. Have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yep. Yeah. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
So before I wrap up this episode of the Bird Banter podcast, I want to talk a little bit more about the Washington Birder website. It's wabirder.com. I'll leave a link in the podcast notes below. And it's a terrific resource for Washington birders or anyone who really wants to learn about birds in Washington. It has all sorts of county-wide and statewide information. It has printable county checklists that you can print out and use. It has a big spreadsheet that will help you keep track of what birds you've seen in each county if you're interested in doing that. And it's just a terrific resource. Matt Bartell and Michael Hobbs run that site pretty much, I think, and they just do a terrific job. So make sure you check out wabirder.com. Other things we talked about in the podcast, I'll try to leave links in the podcast notes too, especially to Tahoma Audubon and to the upcoming WASP Conference convention. So, until next time, birders, good birding, good day.